So who am I? Having recently attended a Me Learning course, I was able to refocus, and this is a record of how that thought process occurred. Attending the course brought back memories that allowed me to enhance my chart, and that brought me to the realization that I needed to create this video, but more on that later. What we see here on the outer ring is my youth, where my strengths lay in traditional art and creative writing. I also had a fascination with computers, choosing computer studies at school, where my teacher was amazed by a short text-based game I wrote involving variables assigned so that the storyline knew if you had a key to a particular lock or an enchantment on a sword, changing storyline accordingly. This was around 81-82, which coincidentally saw the introduction of fighting fantasy, which very well may have influenced me. Despite my interest in role-playing games, fighting fantasy was something I only dabbled in. I preferred the concept on a computer, where any decision was instantaneous as opposed to finding a page number, and that's exactly what happened in 2002 with the release of Neverwinter Nights. Based on the advanced Dungeons & Dragons rule set of the time, you could create a character and go on an adventure. Neverwinter Nights, however, was unique in that it gave you the very toolset used to create the adventure they'd included, so that you could go on to create your own. The toolset allowed you to place terrain, objects and sound effects, assign variables and modify code to do custom things such as play an animation during conversation with a character. You could even customize conversation files, which lent itself very nicely into my creative writing. And at the time I was fortunate that my career in graphic design enabled me to specialise in desktop publishing. This led to a Dungeon Master's guide that I created specifically for a Neverwinter Nights game of my own creation, and here you can see the different sections you could jump to. I took particular pride in making sure character portraits resembled the actual character within the game. So going back to my chart, other interests in my youth included Greek mythology, which later expanded into Arthurian legends. I liked historical wargaming too, and that required an interest in model making if I wanted my armies to host tanks. Filmmaking was where my passion lay, and with it a desire to act. In my late teens I regularly attended what was then known as Greenwich Young People's Theatre. Improv does much to enhance the value of one's skills when running a role-playing game, with a willingness to act doing much to add drama to any encounter within my games. I've lived with many a cat over the years, and while this isn't my first, Charlie is my most missed and worthy of representing all cats. At least that's what I thought until I found out he had his own Facebook page. Okay, I confess, humour features heavily with me. But this time Charlie has gone too far. He posted that he wanted to see if he could draw as well as his pet human. Well, fortunately for me, my artwork has improved, along with my skills in PowerPoint and Keynote, to the point that I can now make some basic animations. Ah! Why did no one tell me how hard making this movie would be? With regard to my artwork, I have an unusual style that reflects well what someone once said about me. To help them with a psychology course, they requested I complete a questionnaire for them that would define my personality in 2 words. On completing the questionnaire, they informed me that I was a regressive achiever, which apparently is very rare. They went on to explain that most people tackle a project in a simple get from A to Z approach, moving on to B then C. I like to picture what the final objective is and make sure I get there by getting to Y then X. It means I take longer to get to Z, but will have a higher chance of achieving whatever Z should be. Ever since then, I've been astounded at how this manifests in everything I do, including my artwork. Most artists gradually enhance a whole picture, whereas I prefer to finish a section before moving on to a different part of the picture. To some extent, it also explains why I'm making this video, but more on that later. Don't worry, we're almost there. Players of my role-playing games will testify that I value immersion, and I took this to the extreme with my Relbonian Chronicles campaign. The creative in me disliked steering adventurers on a set path, so I set about creating a world where players were free to do what they wished. Initially this took the form of a play-by-mail game I ran under the guise of Quillmaster, a name I derived as an alternative to Dungeon Master, as I felt it amplified my interest in storytelling as opposed to dungeon bashing, which is why I also adopted Quillmaster as my handle when making contributions to Neverwinter Nights. I mapped out the world and created a unique mythology to accompany it, then created a multitude of characters to inhabit the realm, of which this is just a few, each with their own motives and goals. Keeping track of their locations as they traversed the realm, encounters occurred only when their paths genuinely corresponded with the movement of a player, resulting in a rich story narrative, some of which I recreated within Neverwinter Nights. When I ended the play-by-mail game, adventures continued in the realm for my role-playing friends using Dungeons and Dragons. It was around this time I became a father and was very suited to the role thanks to my humour, which I'm proud to say he has inherited from me, along with my interest in board games, which kept us both entertained for many a year. I also expanded my model making to include scratch building, which is when you make models from whatever you have to hand. This allowed me to enhance games I played further, such as using pipe cleaners to create smoke trails for a World War I fighter plane game I have, which was further enhanced by painting a bedsheet depicting countryside for the planes to fly over. My son was particularly grateful for such skills when I used them to create a modular sci-fi base for his Warhammer figures to attack in imaginary battles. I still enjoy writing adventures for role-playing games to this very day, with my most recent offering being the sci-fi campaign called Mirrormount. Taking full advantage of my skills in desktop publishing, I created the highly detailed PDF you see here, with shortcuts enabling you to jump around the document as required. Need to know info on a particular planet? Simply click on the planet within the star chart to take you directly to the planet description. Want to know the layout of the space station that the storyline centres on? Just click on the button that takes you directly to the space station blueprints. I wanted to take things a bit further with Mirrormount to increase immersion for the players, so created a presentation within Keynote disguised as a planetary database. This allowed me to save the file to a tablet which I could physically pass to the players during gameplay, allowing them to make inquiries in real time by clicking on whichever planet they wanted further information on before deciding if they should visit the planet in question. You can see it in use here. For a sci-fi game, it did much to enhance immersion for the players when they could use such tech during gameplay. Returning to my chart, I think it goes without saying that interest in Keynote and PowerPoint continue to flow into the present, as without such skills, this video would not have been possible. Going back briefly to my early 20s, my humour and desire to act had me talk to some friends into renting a video camera over a weekend to improvise some comedy sketches. We made a video which we called Only One Word, and decided among ourselves that the word in question was potato, which was kind of ironic since I hated potatoes. As a result, every other sketch had to involve a potato. Alas, the video has been lost to time, but I do fondly recall a joke involving a potato being fatally peeled in an accident. I guess that despite my shyness, when it comes to strangers, part of me enjoys being the centre of attention, which explains why I went to such lengths incorporating my creative skills when attending a medieval themed wedding of a very close friend to make the costume I would wear. I asked for permission before making it, as I was genuinely concerned I'd outshined the couple getting married, but they gave me their blessing, and as a result I featured heavily in their wedding photographs. Nowadays I still enjoy employing my desktop publishing skills to create logos and even a satirical newsletter, but there is still a yearning to make movies, which is where this chart ends. Embellishing this chart helped bring into focus my strengths and desires that all seem to spiral toward wanting to create a YouTube channel, either highlighting my comedy or my passion for role-playing games. The regressive achiever in me set about retelling the journey I took with me learning to both fine-tune my focus and develop my video making skills in the process. I have literally been learning things in the telling of this story. Thank you for joining me, and please comment as to what you'd like to see from any future videos I make. All the best, Quillmaster.